What is up? What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing? This is part 2 of the 𝗟𝗜𝗡𝗞𝗦. Was Jay-Z forced to drop Buzbee's motion? Was he forced to drop it? I think they already answered that. This is part 2, but they got a lot more questions going on as far as Beyonce and all about the lawsuits and all that good stuff. So, hey, without any further ado, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Let's continue with this video right here. Let's check this bad boy out.
I wish I had the acerbic wit of Lionel right now when he answered this question the other day and he brought in the Addams family and all. It was funny. The symbolism of Jaden Smith's head castle. Anything on that, Tommy?
The head castle is one that I think is a little bit more interesting. And the reason is there are a lot of folks who have been comparing the head castle to certain buildings in certain places where this kid may have allegedly been at one time or another. You've heard some of the allegations that have happened concerning this kid, and whether or not any of them are true or not, it's got everybody speculating that this was his way of taking a shot at his family and taking a shot at his dad, and who knows? You know, again, the problem with this is one of the most fascinating cases ever, and so much is now kind of tied up into this because it's not just Diddy anymore, right? It's Diddy and it's all of Hollywood. We're looking at Ryan Reynolds and the crazy crap that is alleged to be going on in there. It's it's unraveling before our eyes, isn't it? So because of that, we're watching some theories that are probably pretty solid and some theories that are probably pretty ridiculous. For all we know, the kid just thought it was cool. But there's a lot of people that are saying this is a representation of the house where he had been abused. That's what the rumor mill is churning up now. It's the rumor mill. It's like inmate.com.
Follow-up question from Katz. Did anyone get to the bottom of Jaden's video when he was distressed showing a location outside?
You know, it's fascinating to me with the family that all of it could be publicity stunts. And I hate to sound like that, but you know, it's all so bizarre. That family is so nuts. You know, what do you get someone who has everything? Counseling. Like if I knew those kids, I'd be buying them blocks of counseling sessions, maybe 10, 15 at a time. The stuff that they've let out and been cool with letting the world know about is awful enough that we don't even need to speculate about all the stuff that we don't understand. You know, we know that the mom was having an affair with her best friend's kid, right? And this was when he was 17 or something along those lines. It's that family is the epitome of Hollywood, right? That's a Hollywood family. It really is. If you wanted the poster child family, I mean the poster card family for Hollywood, it is definitely Will and Jada Smith and their kids, who they said, you know, when the kids were fighting, we got them to eat some mushrooms because nothing levels out your siblings. And that's out of Jaden's mouth. You know, Jaden said that in an interview. His mom was the one that introduced him to hallucinogenics because it helped out with you know, the infighting and stuff in the family. If that's your get down, that's great. But if you're famous, it's probably not such a good idea to tell the world that, especially if you've already kind of been busted for sleeping with that same kid's best friend. At the time, they were running a school. Did you know that? One that was tied to the Church of Scientology in California. No joke. It's since been shut down.
Pam wants to know, did you know that 50 Cent has never got a Grammy for the millions of albums he has sold, but Blue Ivy got a Grammy when she was 9?
Yeah, I knew that. Isn't that fascinating? Look at what happened. His opening album, his first album, the number of hits he had on it, how that thing didn't get a Grammy. You just have to know this. It's not an award. It's not this like, you know, clandestine group of guys that get together and vote on things and they take into account how many records were sold and this and that. It's just a machine to get you to buy this album or not that album. They're going to promote this person. Sadly, folks, we're sheep. And they decide what we're going to like before it ever happens. And you know what? I'm out. I'm out. Having nothing to do with any of it personally, but that's me.
Question for Sean. Do you think UK artists will get exposed? Surely it's not just Hollywood. Well, Sunlit, out of my 17 books, one of them is called Untouchable Jimmy Savile, who was the most famous creepy artist to ever exist in the UK, knighted by the Pope, the royal family, by Thatcher. He was in the top levels of the church, brokering deals with Ireland, Israel. This is a DJ from a northern town. He had a weekly lunch club for the cops. So whenever any reports came in for him across the country, they were trashed. And he got away with it for decades and died. And his coffin was laid at a Masonic angle facing the coast. And but when it all came out after his death, the BBC still tried to suppress it. But when it all came out of his death, there was Operation U-Tree, and many UK artists went to prison. Rolf Harris, Max Clifford. And in the last couple of years, we saw the fall of Hugh Hefner. It was a major primetime news report for the BBC. Not Hugh Hefner, Hugh Edwards. Hugh Hefner, Freudian slip. And we saw the fall of...
No one was shocked. That's the messed up thing. Everyone was just like, okay. All right, yeah.
With Philip Schofield, breakfast TV presenter for ITV for many decades, met a kid in a school, kept in touch on Twitter.
Gary Glitter.
And Gary Glitter, obnoxious. Sadly, when I was a kid, my parents, I went to a fancy dressed as a Gary Glitter character.
Shut up. Are you serious? Where's the photo?
Half of the presenters who were on TV when I was a kid have ended up with allegations or indictments or incarcerations. There was an absolute epidemic of it. But my book, Untouchable Jimmy Savile, available worldwide on Amazon, breaks a lot of it down, stuff that I can't talk about on YouTube.
Exactly. A little bit of filter around this campus. A filter.
Yeah.
It's all right though. Get the word out. You get it out.
Do you think with Drake having that lawsuit against the record label mentioning the NFL, do you think they're going to let Kendrick Lamar perform, not like us, since they let that song at the Grammys?
Well, you know what's really jacked up? That's going to be right up to Jay-Z, isn't it? You know that they changed what they had. I mean, honestly, he basically runs those shows. He'll have to run it by the brass, but I don't think. I mean, look, their response was, yeah, there's allegations out there about the dude, but we're going to let him continue to do this. I can't imagine that, they're putting up the good front. I have a feeling this is going to be over when this is done. I don't know whether or not you've heard this, but the company for Moet and Chandon, they are the liquor distributors for the Carters. You had Diageo for Diddy. Okay, well, their Diageo is the parent company for Moet, right? The LM, I can't remember all the initials, but it's the Moet and Chandon. They're on hold. They've said they're not putting any more money out to anything. Well, they're waiting to see what happens, and this is a big deal because they're citing this lawsuit as the reason for it. Now, no one has done that. There's been none of these things that have that have transpired prior to this. We watched it happen with Diddy, right? It's been so freaking long now that it's almost a memory that we've forgotten. But for a while, we were doing shows because this brand was dropping them and that brand was dropping them, and this store was no longer going to carry Sean John, and this line said, "Yep, we're done." This is the first, and that has got to make up a fairly decent amount of his cash. That's a hit. That's a hit if they're not going to be doing anything more for the guy.
Yeah, that is interesting that his deals are starting to slide because he's announcing deals every week, just trying to bolster that. So Maria's wondering, can Jay-Z be forced to do the DNA test, i.e. Rymir, and end up being charged with that situation? And people not familiar, the allegation is that Rymir's mother was below the age of consent in that state when Rymir was conceived.
I don't know enough about this. The shows where Rymir was on with the doc, they answer these questions better than I do. My gut says this: the day is coming where they may just have his DNA on file anyway. They may be doing some DNA swabs. I'd like to believe that the truth is going to come out in that. Maybe somebody sees that guy throw away a Coke can, or he makes a mistake. He slips up. The garbage gets out. Something. I have a feeling someday we'll know the truth to that. 2025 is the year, people. It's the year.
We've done 3 interviews with 𝗗𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦, Jay-Z's estranged son, and he's a shining light. His energy is so positive.
Macro Izzy. Just a good man.
Check those out in the back catalogue. Sarah, do you know anything about the shooting at Drake's house?
I do not. I had not heard anything about that.
I did not either.
We're shooting at Drake's house?
So I'm going to go into the Epstein news and get Tommy's reaction from that. So I was watching the grilling today of the FBI guy. Anyway, calls for fresh FBI probe into Epstein's scandal has left Prince Andrew afraid to visit the United States. This has come out in recent hours. Andy is reportedly avoiding travel to the US over fears of arrest, legal action, or being subpoenaed as the FBI faces renewed pressure to investigate Jeffrey's network. Andy, 64, has rarely left the UK in recent years, with insiders claiming his legal concerns are keeping him grounded. Newly uncovered emails between him and Jeffrey have raised fresh questions about their relationship, revealing that Andy remained in contact with Jeffrey longer than he previously admitted. This discovery has sparked growing calls for a criminal investigation into Jeffrey's high-profile connections, including the prince. A source detailed that Andy is terrified of what could happen if he steps foot in America. He fears he could be arrested, sued in civil court, or subpoenaed. Once a frequent traveler nicknamed Miles Andy, he has barely left the UK of late, making just one known overseas trip to Bahrain, a country where he has trusted allies. His self-imposed travel ban has reportedly extended to skipping golf trips to Spain and other vacations abroad, further underscoring his concerns. Pressure mounts from US officials and Jeffrey's victims. With Epstein's case continuing to cast a shadow over high-profile figures, Kash Patel, former FBI official under Trump, has vowed to uncover all individuals linked to Jeffrey's crimes. Meanwhile, Spencer Couvin, attorney representing Jeffrey's victims, has urged the UK government to cooperate and hand Andy over for questioning. Quote, "The British monarchy should be embarrassed. He should be completely cut off from royal life." Andy, we've got to add, has long denied any wrongdoing, including allegations from Virginia, who accused him of carnal misconduct when she was 17. While the 2020 FBI request to question him stalled in 2024, new evidence is now putting him back in the spotlight. February 2011 email from Andy to Jeffrey has surfaced showing that Andy remained in contact with him 2 months later than claiming to have cut ties. Even more damning, the message was sent on the same day the photo surfaced of Andy with Virginia. Quote, "Keep in close touch and we'll play some more soon," the message read, which directly contradicts his public statements that he had ended his friendship with Jeffrey in December 2011. Any thoughts on that situation, Tommy?
Well, first of all, I'm shocked to find out that this man was being dishonest. You know what I mean? He looked like such a straight shooter. But this is that, you know, for a long time there are people that have said, you know, how come we haven't seen the list? And I have always said that if you control the Department of Justice, if you have control in our country over the Department of Justice, you have control over what ends up in court and what doesn't. And you don't want to think that people at the top weaponize that. You don't want to think that political parties can take advantage of that and do the things that they have ended up doing over the years. But we've seen the weaponization of the Internal Revenue Service, our tax collecting branch, to go after people or to shut people up. And just one example of, I mean, hundreds of them. And we are fortunately whether people like this guy or don't like this guy. We got a guy in there that is delivering on the promises that he made before he got there, including the JFK files. Everybody knows JFK, RFK, and Martin Luther King. Those files are all being declassified, and they made some promises about the Jeffrey tapes too, and all of the evidence in that. And I have reason to believe we're going to see it because, as I've said, before, I don't understand how you can charge someone, with trafficking human beings, but there's nobody that there were no buyers. She's sitting in a prison for selling people, but yet there is not one buyer. Where are the buyers? Where are the people that were buying these underage people? Because they're guilty of sin too. It's not like Ghislaine Maxwell, holds the all of the responsibility of this. If she was selling somebody was buying, and those people need to be pushed out into the light so that we can talk about them. For real, their lives need to be made as miserable as the victims that will never recover the damage that they've done to people. Needs to get out in the light. I think 2025 is going to be the year, or at least the start of it. They're going to disassemble this, and we're going to be the people to do it. It ain't going to be governments. It's not going to be any of that stuff. You can vote with the things that you do, man. The things you look at. Information right now is the most powerful thing on the earth. What you look at does so much. You have no ideas. Stop looking at the stuff that you made by the people that are victimizing people. Take away their revenue. Take away their cash. Don't pay for those parties where people are being injured. Because that's what happens. It's powerful stuff.
So when this first broke, the question came up about Prince Andrew as to whether or not he had diplomatic immunity. And the answer is that only the king and his immediate household have diplomatic immunity. It is a concept that protects the position of heads of state, not members of their family. So in 2022, a US judge rejected Andrew's attempt to dismiss the lawsuit brought by Virginia. He settled the lawsuit with Virginia with an estimated compensation of £12 million, $16.3 million at the time. Yep.
Was that before or after denying all of this? Because he never stopped denying it. So in the middle of all of this denial that they talked about earlier, he has continually denied this. And then gave somebody, what, 16 million pounds?
What happened was, and this just shows the clash of old world arrogance and new media. He went and did an interview on the BBC here, which was extremely ill-advised. And he just recited line after line in a condescending fashion. He didn't sweat. He didn't go out in London in casual clothes. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. And as he was saying these things,
sweat was the best. People
were instantly putting pictures of him on Twitter, showing him sweating, showing him out in London in casual clothes. So the gig was up at that point, and he knew, Virginia was just putting the pressure on, and he had to get the pressure on.
That was one of the, honestly, in the history of stupid denials, and let's be honest, there have been some really stupid ones. I did not inhale, right? Some of them have been really stupid, but that one right there takes the cake. I don't sweat. Couldn't be me. You know what I mean? I don't sweat. We're good.
Because of a rare condition he picked up when he was serving in, was it Falkland Islands? Argentina,
yes,
I think.
Probably would have been Falklands.
And God bless the press secretary who suggested Andrew do that BBC interview, that he would just clear the matter up and it would all go away. God bless that woman who probably lost her job.
Tell you what, though, what a way to go out, right? If you're going to go out, that's the way to do it. It's one of my favorite interviews ever. Although my favorite has got to be R. Kelly. When R. Kelly was beating the hell out of his chest and yelling at the woman, and she just didn't move. She didn't even back up an inch. It was like she was a statue. Robert, sit down, Robert. Robert, sit down. Calm down, Robert. Yeah, but I don't sweat. He's sweating now, isn't he? He's sweating so hard that he can't take those golf trips. You hate to hear that. You know what I mean? Poor guy.
Right, folks, we've got almost 2,500 watching. Please sub to Tommy on YouTube. There's a link in the live chat and the description box. Tommy's back tomorrow night at 9. We've got 20 minutes left here before it's bedtime for me. So get your final questions in for Tommy now on Diddy, Jay-Z, Epstein, Hollywood, whatever you've got. Ask Tommy anything. So Stereotype is asking, I'm curious to know, is Diddy locked up for life, or is there a possibility of he's only pre-trial right now, Stereotype. He has a presumption of innocence. Anything can happen.
Yeah. Now, that said, if he were to be convicted along with me, I'm sorry, if he were to be convicted, I was reading someone's comment. If he were to be convicted on all of these charges, with the possibility that he has for enhancements and things of that nature, I don't think there's any chance in hell that he could possibly get out. But he would have to be convicted on all of these. We haven't seen any of that yet, because it's going to be at the earliest May 5th. And most people who predict anything don't believe that there's a chance this goes off on Cinco de Mayo. That's going to be a really tough timetable to get all of this put together. It seems, I don't know, doesn't seem realistic, if you ask me.
All right, let me get to the next one.
Yeah, dude, that is going to be a good show tomorrow. If you get a chance to tune into that, and if you haven't seen it, we've been tearing into a cult that is still in business. 100,000 people strong. It's a pretty fascinating story. I'll be on there with Relatable Reese, who's actually the girl that broke the story. And I'll be interviewing her for part of a series that we're doing. Definitely worth going and checking out.
I don't think we know, and I don't think there's any proof that Diddy ever partied with Jeffrey, is there?
You know something? There's probably a really good chance there's a picture of the two of them, right? There's a really good chance that there's a picture somewhere of the two of them. It doesn't mean that they hung out, that weird circles that these people run in. I've been tying together all of the moving pieces in this, some of the names that keep coming up. I'm doing 3 different stories that have nothing to do with one another. And there are people that keep weaving in and out of every one of the stories. And you got to be like, is this a coincidence? People run in some very, very odd circles, and you keep seeing the same people. I wouldn't be surprised if there's pictures of them together, but I can't find anything that says that they were hanging out and partying together.
Tommy, did you say the Enterprise letter won't be coming until March now?
We don't know when it's going to come. We know that they have until March 17th. It could happen before then. It could happen. They're playing. These are really 2 high dollar defense teams. I mean, lawyer teams. You got the best defense money can buy, and of all of the Department of Justice anywhere in the United States, this is the best team of lawyers. Like if you're from Wyoming and you're kicking the hell out of it, you may end up climbing the ladder and ending up at the Southern District of New York. Like that's where the Babe Ruths of the prosecuting teams end up, and this is just going to be behemoths crashing into one another with tons of money being wasted. And they're playing this game of trying to keep everybody guessing whether or not there's going to be a superseding indictment. They're panicking because, in my opinion, they got to have a pretty good idea. If there's a superseding indictment, what's coming? I'm sure that the lawyers whisper to one another. It's really bizarre how that whole system works. Like the prosecutors and the defense attorneys will go have lunch together. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's the truth. And they talk about all of this stuff. So I don't know. We're going to see it. We're going to see some weird things coming down the pike.
Who do you think are the alleged Diddy co-conspirators?
I think that if you look at the lawsuit that was brought by Little Rod, he kind of put together what looked like a depth chart. There were a lot of people who there were allegations against, and Christina Karam's name was in there. KK, Ethiopia 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦, the woman that does she works for Motown, or a division of Motown Records. She was listed there. So was Sir Lucifer Grange. That cat was listed in there. And then below that, you had like this was drawn up like you would see a mafia depth chart kind of a deal. And on the second run, you had a couple of his kids, and you had the other people that were out there haranguing and bringing people in. You understand? Their job was like to go find victims, for lack of a better way to put it. And they've got those names listed there. But you're going to see this enterprise go out to people that were cleaning. I would imagine that drug mule is either a witness or a defendant, because he was providing, chemicals that were going to be knocking these people out at these alleged freak-offs. So all of those people, and we heard recently for a new lawsuit for one of his personal assistants, not KK, but a guy who was talking about the hot King nights or whatever they were calling those parties. But his job was to carry the VIP bag. Well, a lot of the stuff this guy's describing, even in his lawsuit, makes him culpable in this. I would be really shocked if we don't see that guy in there. I mean, it's all fun and games. You could say, you know what, this guy did this to me. Yes, he did. While he was doing that to you, you were committing a crap load of crimes. You're providing chemicals up to these parties. You're doing this, you're doing that. So they probably, that's a cat that could end up with immunity and end up testifying in this. In fact, I think there's probably a pretty good chance we're going to see a lot of those kinds of people. They could still be prosecuted, but they're going to end up with things like a 3-year sentence, or 4-year sentence, or a little bit of probation.
Never thought about it like that. That's facts, testified, but you did wrong, but we want this person that did a whole lot more wrong, because he's the one that made all this wrong stuff happen in the first place, even though you did wrong.
Probation, even, as long as they give up the dirt on Diddy.
So Michelle's wondering whether the Epstein and Diddy list side by side would look similar.
Probably not. Probably not. I think that, and I'm not trying to sound like an elitist, but the Epstein list would look like elitists. The names that you would see on there, in my opinion, are going to be very, very powerful politicians. I think that's what you're going to see a lot of. Old money politicians and people that have been in office forever. People that have been around a really long time, who they've had a long time to groom. Honestly, I don't think that you grab a guy off of the floor of Congress and say, "Hey, come on, we're going to go. Let's go hang out with some underage kids and do some." I think that there's a grooming process that took place. I think that's why the guy had multiple planes, right? He wasn't using those planes to fly everybody to his island. Every festival, every huge event, everything where the Met Gala or whatever, he was always there to be able to say to someone, "What, you're getting on an airplane? Nah, come on, I got a jet. We'll fly you and your family." And he just starts to make those inroads, and they start to work because his, in my opinion, and Sean knows more about this than I do, but I think his job was just to collect information. And that's a process, just like any, I don't know, let's say you were with an agency of some kind, like they train that kind of thing where you meet somebody and you start to work them, and then you start to figure out a little bit more about them. And, that becomes a person that you get info out of and set up into situations and take pictures of. And I think that operation was far more organized like that. Like it was more along one of those government kind of agency things. Not saying that that's what did it, just saying that it looked more like that. And this one looks a lot more like ball players, athletes and rock stars and people from Hollywood. Now, would there be some crossover? Pretty good chance. I mean, I'm sure there's some dirtbags that would be on both lists, but I don't think there'd be a lot on crossover. And I'll bet you the Epstein list is pretty white.
So, referencing the interviews we did years ago with Whitney Webb, Ryan Dawson, Kirby Summers. Kirby Summers is coming on next week, actually. The conclusion was that Epstein was part of a Mossad, CIA, honey trap apparatus. He was a mid-level manager. You got Wexner above him. And, this apparatus has an objective of compromising people who they can leverage in politics, and technology was another area of interest that Jeffrey
that would check out, wouldn't it? Think of who he was flying out to his island.
Yeah,
you're probably not going to catch Stephen Hawking in a picture with with an underage girl. But there, he was still trying to legitimize himself, I think, a lot too, because he had, things on his island where he brought in a lot of deep thinkers and a lot of, people in science and whatnot. He was into that, but it certainly looked like he had a really, really large budget. And I'd be shocked if it wasn't exactly that. But I think that maybe he was, I kind of feel like maybe Ghislaine was handling him, like maybe he was the, of the two of them. I think maybe she was running the show and he was just the,
well, she was the protege. She was the protege of her father, super spy, Captain Bob Maxwell. She had all the contacts. Jeffrey had the funds. All right, so next question. Would we be open to a conversation with Diddy about his side of the story?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes. And I'd give the cat a straight up shot. I wouldn't be disrespectful to him. I wouldn't. I'd like to hear. I'd absolutely like to hear what his story is, and let him speak. But I'm certainly going to weigh in on anything he says afterwards, though.
Yeah, it's in the interests of balanced reporting that we should get the right to reply from Diddy or his elder kids or his lawyers. They're all.
I would absolutely love to talk to his kids too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not showing a lot of interest in talking to anyone, and I would imagine I can see why. But by the way, if Jay-Z's watching, give me a call, man. Give you a perfect platform. We'll let you talk. I would absolutely love to hear everybody's side of the story. But they don't want to do that. I really don't. I don't think that that's the case, especially vis-a-vis these. They want to try this outside of the court, which is fascinating. But they don't want to try it in the court of public opinion. They want to control what the court of public opinion thinks. And I think that Jay-Z thought if he came out with his guns blaring like a freaking cowboy talking about
fact,
you ain't getting one red cent, you cheap suit wearing, getting all tough, that Buzbee was going to back down. And when Buzbee didn't back down, I think we just saw him blink.
Shit, I knew he wasn't going to back down over that. I even knew that.
Realizes that
that's the beginning. That's the first swing of the fight.
So may the record reflect that we have offered them this opportunity to balance the reporting. So Michelle is saying, do you feel Cowgirl Carter going on tour is her way to separate herself from the bushfire her hubby has got going on?
Interesting. I hadn't thought of that as an angle. In my head, I thought it was being done as a different kind of a distraction, not to sort of distract her from what's going on in her life, but to distract us from what's going on in her husband's life. But that's an interesting thought. She may just want to get away. I kind of get the vibe, and I think the rest of the world does, that they may not be spending a whole hell of a lot of time together right now anyway. There's a lot of allegations that they're not kicking it tight.
Is there any evidence that Tom Cruise went to a Diddy party?
Absolutely not. He would never do such a thing. This is a fascinating subject because anything a Scientologist would do if he had gone to one of these parties. When that party was over, he would have to sit down and go through a process of what they call auditing, where he would be on this sort of 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 lie detector, the E-meter that they call it. And he would have to go over everything that happened the night before while they recorded it. So no, he probably didn't attend a lot of Diddy parties. That's great, though. That is great, though.
So, Tommy, what can people look forward to from you in the coming days?
Well, tomorrow we're going to be coming on and talking about the Royal Order of Jesters, and we're getting to the more exciting part of the story, and it's highlighting a documentary that my fiance Reese and I have been working on. And I'll tell you what, man, we're over the target because the people out there who hate, they've been taking a run at us recently, and one of the geniuses actually said in one of their videos that they were paid by a jester. So it shows us that we're over the target. So you know what? Definitely hit subscribe to the channels. It's this is going to be a fairly exciting time. We are going to take this cult down. Here's the beautiful thing. This is not just a this isn't just an exercise in making videos. This case is going to get turned over to the FBI. We're putting this thing together with a big bow on it, and this is actually going to be us taking a shot at these people who do things based on having power and having the ability to make their money work for them. That's a big deal, and we're going to take a fairly hefty shot at it. And by the way, they are, before anybody emails me again, we didn't say anything about every Freemason on the planet being these. It's a offshoot of the Freemasons. So this is called the Royal Order of Jesters. It's a little different. Come by tomorrow. We'll explain the whole thing to you.
All right.
And I'm going to wait for the explosion that is the Jay-Z news. It's coming.
Huge thank you, brother. We'll see you all tomorrow. And subscribe to Tommy. Link in the live chat right now and in the description box. Take care, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you, man.
Cheers. All right, folks, before I go to bed then, I'll just give you the upcoming lineup. So Tommy tomorrow, 9 p.m. UK. Reese in the chat is asking if I will be joining. It's my karate night Thursday here in the UK, Reese. But I'm going to be getting back and trying to get Hamamoto on. Put a 1 in the chat if you want Hamamoto to come on and break down the demonic Grammys, the symbolism. Jay Dyer would be a good guest as well on that. I've sent Hamamoto an email. It's probably in his junk. Professor, if you are watching, check your junk. And we want to get you on while people are still fascinated by this Grammy symbolism, outfits, shenanigans, castles on the head. And then Saturday, it's an earlier one, 5 p.m. Lee Harvey Oswald's best friend is going to be talking to us live from Minsk, Russia. His internet is not that good, so he will be audio only. And he's not done many interviews, so get your questions ready for that one. And yeah, there's going to be Ron's got a lot of shows, and he's got a big show on Friday night with Big Homie and Beverly coming on together, talking about a mission to help the kids and stop the human transporters. Minsk, yeah, Siberia. Oswald was out there for a couple of years, I believe. CC. And that's when he clicked up with Ernst Titovitz. Mm-hmm. So, but we've got a few JFK guests lined up. Anyway, if you want to get my next book out of the 17, it is released tomorrow, folks, in 1 hour, actually. You can buy it pre-order on Amazon UK right now, link in description box. And someone did say earlier that you can go on the book depository and get books out of England through the book depository, which is a subsidiary of Amazon. But it's got stories of 10 of my hardest hitting female podcast guests. And female gangsters are not easy to find. Minsk, definitely Russia. Sorry, I've got it totally wrong. I've confabulated the Oswald story with where Titovitz is living. That's what I've done. So yeah, I take that back. Sorry, my bad on my geography. But we will get all that straightened out when Ernst Titovitz comes on.
Okay.
On Saturday, 5 p.m. UK.
Yes.
So get your questions. We're going to have a unique opportunity to delve into the scholarly mind of Ernst. He's extremely well accomplished, as you will see. Thank you
for tuning in. They done killed the bad boy and all that good stuff, man. That's interesting, man. That this case with Jay-Z, they taking it a little more serious now. At first, Jay-Z was trying to just brush it off or just say anything to Buzbee. But Buzbee is the real deal. We counting on you, Buzbee. I'm counting on Buzbee, and I'm not counting on Buzbee to make sure Diddy goes to jail. Or you want to see a black man go down. I don't care. If you did wrong, you did wrong. I don't care what color you are. But what I want to make sure is justice being served. I want Trump to help make America great again, like he said. So I want him to do all the stuff he claimed he gonna do, and I'm gonna sit back and watch and report on it. And you too, Buzbee, that's all. Hey, y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.